Hi everybody, David Thexton here from ConsultX and welcome to this week's podcast, Everything Business Consulting, a weekly podcast all about business consulting where we talk about many different topics and interview really interesting people from our global network. If you want to be or are a business consultant already, this is the podcast for you. Hi Paul, welcome to our interview section. Paul's based in Auckland in New Zealand and he's been with ConsultX for about 3 years, I think, but he'll tell us more accurately in a minute. Paul, are you all fired up and ready to go?
Absolutely, David. I'm here, ready to go.
Excellent. You've been involved in business consulting for some time now. Could you tell us what you were doing before you became a consultant?
Okay, I guess I had a reasonably classic background in general management, but I got into general management through a product development, sales and marketing background. Did an MBA, and then through the corporate I was working for, managed to get advanced into general management positions with acquired businesses essentially. So my role was to go into a business that had been recently acquired and put strategies and plans in place to align it with the corporate values, etc., and to make some more money. So that's what I was doing.
And how long have you been with us for?
Yes, I joined 3 years ago, coming up 4 now, I think, in February. Yeah.
Okay. So tell our audience, what attracted you to business consulting?
I had a desire to not go back into a corporate role. I was a result of some restructuring that went on, and I had a goal not to go back. My age also, being mid-50s, I guess was difficult when you get into general management positions. And I wanted a bit of flexibility in my life. So I thought I'd try contracting. I didn't pick up any contracts. And then I thought I'd follow up my network and try if I can do any help with anybody that I knew. And I found that I didn't have the pitch, the model. I didn't really understand how to acquire work. And then I saw this advert, David, for you in the Business Success Program, and I guess that was the catalyst for opening the doors to a really good consulting career.
Yeah, we have a lot of people come to us from ex-corporate for any one of a dozen different reasons, and but they come to us a bit disillusioned from being in corporate and wanting to do their own thing and be their own boss and all those sorts of things. So what was your experience in your first 6 months?
I mean, challenging. It was definitely challenging for me. As you know, David, I was a pretty slow starter. I got my first client within about 6 or 8 weeks, I think, which wasn't the quickest, but it was that was fine, and I've still got that client today. And then it took me another 8 or 9 months, I think, to acquire my first and second client. So I think I went through my first year with 3 clients on board. So it was a slow start. I know, but it was my second year, I suppose, that things started happening and changing, and a lot of that was about me, to be honest.
I just finished doing a podcast on that about what causes a slow start in the consulting world, and it went out last Friday, I think. So it's number 32 or 33, I can't remember.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not exactly on that subject, because we have people who can go and do 5 clients in the first month, and people that takes 3, 4, 5 months to get their first client. And we've observed everybody that's ever been in the network, and that's what the podcast's about. We won't go into it now, but could you tell our listeners how you acquired clients in the beginning and how you get them now, and whether there's a change in the method that you use?
The clients in the beginning were purely through my own generation of a prospect database. I'd drive around the local business districts, either pick up business cards from the office, or just do a bit of Google work to find out who the business owner was. So I just eyeballed the business, see whether it was suitable size, etc., find if there was a discrete owner, and then I would put that down our appointment setting system, and see if we could acquire appointments through the telesales process, I guess, the appointment setting process that we had.
Yeah, I'm just about to do a podcast in a couple of weeks' time on telemarketing, because we've got a lot of people around the world now, and a couple of them in the United States have actually done some telemarketing and had some really good results, and they've in fact had better results than we have ever had in New Zealand and Australia. And I don't know what the cultural difference is, or I would have thought US would have been burnt out by now, but apparently not. So I've always ranked it about the lower middle of methods to pick up clients, but it does appear that in some parts of the world it's probably ranks at about a 7 out of 10 as opposed to a 4 or 5. So
Yeah, I mean, it worked. It worked for me. I did try some walk-ins. I was very comfortable walking in and acquiring a business card and saying, "Hey, I'll have someone from the office to give you a call and make an appointment," that sort of thing. But I found the pressure of trying to acquire, of trying to sell on the spot. I had this whole mental block about selling, and
no, we're calling it influencing, not selling.
well, I don't even know whether it's influencing. I think the way that when I just done a discovery this morning, it's more about presenting an opportunity and seeing if that opportunity is of interest to both parties. That's definitely the way that I see it now. It's, do I want this business as a client, and is there an opportunity to work together? And if so, let's talk about it. You know, so it's a completely different mindset I've got now to what we do and how we acquire clients than I did back then in the rookie year, as it were.
Okay. Now you've used the business success program more or less from the start. Can you describe to our listeners the benefits you've gained from using such a structured system?
Yeah, well, as I said at the start, I didn't understand how to pitch, I suppose, to pitch or have any real understanding of what a consulting model may or may not look like. So the business success program, I mean, from woe to go, from identifying a prospect or a lead to signing them up, to putting the plan in place, to managing the meetings, reviews, owners' relationships. It's just a complete system, and you follow the system, and you'll keep a client. That's basically what it is. And I rigorously follow every step of the system, and it works really well.
Yeah, I'm like a stuck record, aren't I? I say, don't reinvent the wheel, don't reinvent the wheel. Like there's an invisible force out there of some people who try to change it all the time, and I'm saying, just don't, leave it as it is. Leave it as it is. It works. Concentrate on what you're doing.
Yeah, the process does work, David, and I'm responsible in our firm. I'm responsible for training the new consultants that come on board, and yeah, I just train to the system, and they go away as well prepared as I was, and if not a little bit more. But hey, that gives everybody a really good basis, I guess, to build their own businesses from.
Could you tell our listeners how many clients you have today, and quickly what type of businesses they are?
I'm working with 7 clients at the moment. I've got 3 clients that I guess form the core of my income, and 4 clients that I've on a monthly cycle with. So they're smaller businesses. So the three major ones, I've got a kitchen benchtop manufacturer, a hardwood flooring company that import and install hardwood floors, and I've got a big timber company that makes glue laminated beams and structures and things. I've got a small removals company, a little promotions company that does embroidery and things like that. I've got a startup business that is trying to promote, or we are promoting a sanitizing product, and I've just signed a auto tyre shop, which is an interesting prospect.
That's a pretty broad spread, isn't it?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, I don't know whether there is such a thing as the right or wrong business to work in or industry to work in. It's just whatever's going on in that business, that they need some support with. And I don't mean support from a technical support. I mean a structure to work within that will improve their business. That's what we provide.
That's really great. Can you tell our listeners, I'm going to talk about, go negative now, what sort of client, how many client losses you've had, and whether you could have done something to save them if you had your time again?
I've lost 4 clients over my 3 years. One was a startup that didn't start up, or one was a very small sign company that basically the owner didn't do anything. We'd go through the planning process, the implementation meetings, and nothing was done. So it was a mutual thing. I said, hey, I'm not going to keep coming every week if you don't do anything, and we just keep talking about the same things. So either that changes, or we don't work together. I worked with a roller blind company where the owner was just a crook, to be honest. Didn't pay me, and he's still paying me off at $750 a month. And another business that, I don't know, it was just a interesting personality. It wasn't. I stayed with them for over a year, but at the end of the day, I didn't quite get on. What would I have done differently? I don't know. I mean, my conscience is clear that we did what we did. We went in with good intentions, and for various reasons, it didn't work out.
Okay, jumping back on the positive side again, could you give our listeners a couple of examples of how you've helped your clients to build a better business?
We've got a couple of testimonial videos on our website, on the Oxygen 8 website, and that really graphically describes some of the benefits that of the business success program on these businesses. And on one in particular, my hardwood flooring company, who are on there, they had not been making a lot of money, and also they had a desire to start importing their own timber flooring product from China, because they had a belief that there was some extra margin, etc., to be had. And it soon became obvious to me that by adding another revenue stream, they'd start making significant increases in profit. And the reason being that in New Zealand it is very, very difficult to get tradespeople. So it's very, very difficult to get flooring installers. And they had a few, but nowhere near enough to satisfy the potential of the market. So their limitation was getting flooring installers. So to increase revenue, we had to do something else. So we started importing timber and selling it to other flooring installers. And that had a dramatic difference, to the profitability of the business.
Oh, it became an importer distributor.
Yeah, and it had a dramatic business on the lives of the owners. And you watch that video that we've got on the website, and that graphically describes the impact that you can have on a person, on a family, and it's just incredible.
I'll just stop you there for a second and just want to say to everybody that Paul's done a very good job on his firm's website with customer or client testimonials, and you should go and have a look at those, and it's www.oxygen8 with a number 8 at the end .co.nz, or is it .com?
No, it's .co.nz. Yeah.
.co.nz. So oxygen, one word, 8 next to it.
Oxygen at number 8.co.nz.
Hey, we're just going to have a break for a minute now, and we'll be back right after the break.
Have you ever thought about using your past business or corporate experience to help others in business by becoming a business consultant, coach, or advisor? If so, there's an opportunity to enter the world of business consulting with a complete system ready for you to run with called ConsultX. If you're a business consultant, coach, or advisor, or interested in becoming one, then you should check out ConsultX. ConsultX is an online consulting program that helps an engaged community of like-minded people. So all the training, tools, and support that you need to become a successful business consultant are ready for you when and how you want to consume them, all in one place. Find out more now by visiting consultx.com/fire. That's consultx.com/fire. You can also check out their podcast, Everything Business Consulting, to help you get started.
So we're back now. Paul, using the ConsultX Business Success Program, what's been the average lifetime of your clients?
Well, one's 3 years. Average lifetime, sorry, I'm just looking at the list I've got here. I would say 18 months, 2 years. But I don't, as I go forwards, I don't envisage losing any. So it could be 5 or 6 years if I carry on. It's the program itself becomes the way that the business operates. So to not have the program, there'd be a fundamental change in the way that the business operated, because we're essentially putting the governance structure on top, and that becomes fundamental to the way that the business works. So I find it really difficult to understand why these businesses would want to, well, unless they're sold it or something, or because we've got, I'm basically an employee, not in the strictest term, but I'm part of the team. So I don't see that, touch wood, I'd be losing any of these clients very quickly.
Yeah, that's the consensus of most people in the network, is that you become part of the furniture, you bring the systems, the tools and the processes that they don't have, and you become kind of bolted into it. So you'd have to do something really bad, or as you said, the business would sell, which could possibly unhinge that and cause a termination, I think. Tell our listeners a bit about your lifestyle as a consultant today when compared to the 9 to 5 or 8 to 7 corporate environment that you're in.
Used to be pretty good until I started a firm. I used to, my goal when I went through training was to have 6 clients and have meetings on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 1 in the morning each, every other week. And that is still very much doable. So that would give me a week's work and a week's, more flexibility. In reality, it sort of works like that. I do channel the work, sort of that way. But every week I make time for myself to go for a run, go to the gym, go home early, go sailing, have a long weekend. Just come back from 3 weeks sailing around Croatia, and you just bump the client meetings out, and you've got good enough relationships with these clients to say, hey guys, we're going to have to skip this month, I'll catch you next month. And you keep in touch via email and things anyway. My wife is still in corporate and looks at my lifestyle with great envy. You know, the flexibility that I have. And I say that up until we started the firm, and then the firm's taken up a lot of that slack time now developing that.
Just to clarify for everybody, Paul is working with two other people in our network, and they're building a consulting firm in Auckland, New Zealand. So I suppose a lot of his spare time that he would have had by himself is going into building the firm.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's my choice, and that's. But other than that, I mean, the beauty of what we do is that, well, around your client meetings, you're other than that, you're flexible as to what you spend your time on, and that can either be, you know, developing other interests like our firm, or it can be going sailing or skiing. Or one of the we just had a conference here in New Zealand, and one of the senior consultants got up at the end of the conference and he described one of his recent working days. Is it okay if I relate that to you? He lives in Queenstown, and that had a really nice dump of snow on a Tuesday night, I think it was. You know, him and his wife got up 8 o'clock in the morning, and they did the first run of the day down the ski fields. So they were, you know, taking the virgin snow as it was, did their runs up and down, and he was back in his office at 12:30, ready to go for the day. So you make this story as a you know, a perfect working day. So beat that.
Yes, yeah. Have you got some advice for our listeners that there's always around the whole world probably millions of people, men and women, who are thinking about becoming a business consultant, but they're unsure how to enter the consulting profession. Can you give our listeners a bit of advice, if they're one of them?
Well, I think the thing for me was that, you know, joining you know, and aligning with the business success program gave me the breakthrough that I just wouldn't have had. I didn't understand the demands of a small business owner and the benefits that having, you know, someone alongside could have. So I mean, one of the big changes for me was that I had to come to terms with believing absolutely that what we do is needed and absolutely benefits small business owners. And as soon as you get that in your head, that these business owners are better with you than without you, you'll be successful, because it just comes from a belief that that's what it is, that's what it's about.
And to close this interview, could you give our listeners a couple of gold nuggets of advice that'll help them in their consulting career?
I just went through, as I say, the training recently, and we've got a great program and we should stick to it, but in the first few months it is also really important that we find something to make a difference, something that will prove that what we're doing to the business owner is of benefit. I've seen a couple of cases where we go through, we build a plan, you know, we start all that process, and there's something glaringly obvious that we could have or should have done that would have made an immediate impact. And typically it's around pricing or quoting systems or productivity or something like that. So I'd recommend that you really quickly get your head around what some of the early wins might be, and and it might not be something financial. It might be something just visible. It might be a new staff uniform or cleaning up the office or whatever it might be, but make it appear that you're having some sort of immediate impact, because I think that gets over this, hey, we're paying out, however many $1,000 a month, and all this guy's doing is talking to us and asking us questions. We're not actually doing anything. So it's really important to do something in the first few months. Is one of them. And then I think I said before this thing about, perhaps I didn't say it, but I use a 90-day goals process. So every 90 days we just recheck and we set ourselves some goals for the next 90 days. So 90 days is a nice chunk of 3 months. And we break it down, and there might be 2 or 3 major projects that we're going to advance in that time.
They're kind of milestones, really, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So, but every 3 months it gives us an opportunity to reassess where did we get to with our milestones that we'd planned for the last 3 months, give ourselves a bit of a mark, and then say, right, let's go on for the next 3 months. What are the next things we're going to do? So that just shortens everything up, and it means that we get progress. Things do get ticked off, because we all know that we have great aspirations about things we're going to do in the short term, but we don't always achieve everything that we want in the short term. But over the long term, it's amazing what you get done.
Exactly, yeah. And just imagine before you went into the business, they were doing nothing like this. They were just drifting along, really, and now all of a sudden they've got a course of direction, and you're holding them accountable for hitting those milestones along the way.
Yeah, that's so true, David, and that's something that I talk to the new consultants about, is that we've no idea about what the environment in that business was before we went along. So don't assume anything. Just assume that what we're doing is having fantastic benefit, and they're seeing a change, because there will be a change just for the fact that we're there. And if things are not happening as quick as you'd like, well, keep it progressing. But remember that, as you said, there was nothing happening before.
Okay, Paul, well, thanks for that frank and interesting interview. I'm sure our listeners will have gained a hell of a lot from it. So thanks very much.
My pleasure, David.
If you're a business consultant, coach, or advisor, or interested in becoming one, then you should check out the ConsultX Business Success Program. Find out more today by visiting consultx.com/fire, and be sure to subscribe to their podcast, Everything Business Consulting.